The views and opinions expressed on the Nova Society are those of the panelists and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Phoenix Research Institute or any institution which any panel member is associated. Reproduction or dissemination other than for the purpose of education or information without the express written permission of the Phoenix Research Institute or Nova Society Media is strictly prohibited. We'd like to welcome everyone back to the Nova Society, and for today's short session Thursday, we are going to be taking a question asking about the conflict in the Middle East. What might be the United States' role, and what is the potential for all-out war in that region? So let's listen in.
The conflict in the Middle East, here we are with that, seems ready to expand as Israel successfully killed two high-ranking Hamas and Hezbollah leaders. Scott, I'll begin with you. Is this international issue a liability for the Democratic chances of winning the election?
So I think the Middle East is what's going on in Israel and Gaza is very divisive, obviously, and it's hard to deal with, I don't think that it affects Republicans as much as it does Democrats because they don't. I'm going to quote Nancy Pelosi. It's hard to find leverage with people who don't have any beliefs anyway, with people who have no agenda. It's hard to negotiate with somebody who wants nothing or cares for nothing. And that's the Republicans, right? They don't want anything. They don't care about anything. If every Palestinian in the Middle East was killed, they wouldn't care. If they became overtook Israel and ran the Jews into the sea, I don't think that they would care. They don't care about anything. All they care about is themselves. So I don't think that the Republicans have the same issues that Democrats do. And again, this is part of the big tent party, right? Where you can have a Senator John Fetterman who is very pro-Israel, and you can have very anti-Israel, pro-Palestinian Congress people. And then you can have the people who are in the middle, which is what makes it the party that it is. And when Biden said the other night, the people who are protesting about Palestine, about what's going on in Gaza and the Palestinians have a point. They have a point. They do. Polling in the Middle East itself suggests that there are more Palestinians who are sort of sliding into the Hamas camp than before. Okay, so Israel is driving people into that camp, and that is going to continue to cause them trouble. And the last thing I'll say about it is that Israel, the kind of operations that Israel pulled off to kill those leaders is more what Israel does well than charging into buildings and blowing up things, and that they probably need to take a step back and reassess how they're going to fight this ongoing battle. And the number one priority needs to be getting the hostages back, because they can't keep going in and finding dead bodies and bringing them back out again, from the tunnels like they did the other day, bringing 6 dead bodies out. That's not a good use of soldiers or time. And this conflict is not going to get any better for anybody. Just finding dead bodies, the longer the hostages are in there, the more they're going to have corpses to bring out instead of live people. So they need to find a way to get those hostages back and end this.
Mark, Tony Blinken is in the area, in the region. And if a ceasefire can be arranged, do you think that this would be enough to quell protests here at home?
No. That's the short answer. No, I don't think it is. Some people want to protest just to protest. No matter what solution, even if they come up with a ceasefire, there are going to be those that are going to be unhappy with some element of it. And that's going to be their reason to get out and protest, which again is perfectly fine. But as far as totally quelling the protests here, no. You're still going to have somebody's going to think that whatever the ceasefire is, somebody got screwed, and you're going to think that's your side. But I will agree with Scott. The fact is, the Democrats, it is a hard position for them to be in because they care. They have factions that care about both sides, and as Scott said, the Republicans they don't care about anything other than winning, and they're going to tell you whatever the heck they got to tell you just to be able to get the win. So, but no, I don't think it's going to do anything for the protests at home.
Yeah. Thank you. And Scott, what do you feel, is a two-state solution still possible?
Well, I think that a two-state solution is not just possible; it's really the only thing. There's nothing else that can be that can resolve this other than that, and it gets harder and harder to do. Obviously, the more bloodshed, the more bad feelings, the more self-perpetuating this gets. But yeah, that really is the only solution. I mean, they're not going to march the Palestinians out at the end of a bayonet, and the Palestinians are not going to be able to destroy Israel. So they're going to have to learn how to live together. We've seen it in other cultures, in other places. It is possible. It's not going to be easy, obviously, and there's going to be a lot of bloodshed before it actually happens and creates peace. But I don't see any other solution.
And Mark, the final question for you. What do you think the majority of Americans really want to have happen in the region? And Scott, you're welcome to add your thoughts.
I don't think Americans have a bloody clue what they want to happen in the region. We don't know what the heck we want to happen in our own backyard half the time. And I don't think Americans truly do understand what's going on in the region other than the fighting. They see that's overt, but the ability to critically and analytically look at the situation that's going on in the region, for the majority of Americans, I do not believe that they have that capacity at this point in time to do it. They're going to get whatever they're being told by Fox News or by MSNBC or whatever, that's what they're going to believe. And they don't invest themselves enough into the issues that are really going on to really be able to understand. So, yeah, they say that this is what they want, but, it's kind of an amazing thing. They say what they want, but they have no solution as to how to accomplish that. And to me, that's a fundamental flaw in our thinking when it comes to these kind of international issues. We just don't critically think about them enough.
Yeah, I agree. One of the amazing things that Trump seems to get away with is not being specific about things, saying that he's going to get the two sides in a room together and within an hour they'll resolve this problem, but he doesn't ever bother saying how he would go about that and why he doesn't apply that largesse to the situation right now when people are dying every day. The fact is that he doesn't have any kind of idea. And the fact is that if he did have an idea, it would probably be a really bad one. Like, okay, so here's how we're going to resolve this. The Israelis win, the Palestinians lose, go. And that's really the only thing I think he's got going on right now as far as the Middle East is concerned. How much the American people care about the Middle East? It's been going on for so long that most people don't even understand it. Forget about have an opinion about it one way or another. So I think we're a long way from the Middle East here in the United States.
I mean, really, when you think about it, there has not been a point in time where there hasn't been conflict in the Middle East of some sort. It's almost that we are numb to it.
Good point. Did I get that one in?
Yeah. Remember, I do the editing, so I get it. We get it whenever we want to get it. So that's all the time we have for today's episode. The Nova Society is a production of the Phoenix Research Institute. We'd like to thank our sponsor for this episode, the Journal of Interdisciplinary Conflict Science. The JCIS is an open journal for upcoming scholars. The JCIS is currently accepting article submissions on an ongoing basis. The JCIS is a publication of Nova Works, a scholarly depository at Nova Southeastern University. A link to the journal is in our description. We'd also like to thank our podcast partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, who is our editing partner, and Podkite, who does all of our analytics. We'd also like to thank iHeartRadio, where people get their music and podcasts, Apple iTunes, the largest source for music and podcasts on the internet, Spotify, the most popular source for the Nova Society. The Nova Society is available on all these and other quality platforms mentioned in our description. We'd also like to thank our listeners. Without you, the Nova Society would not be possible. If you have a comment, a question, or would like to be a guest on the Nova Society, we can be reached at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. Always remember, the power of society is knowledge. So for Dr. Scott Gershwer, Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, Dr. Priscilla Hobbs, and all of us here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Be well, and we hope to see you again next time.